Good morning, everybody. Surprise, surprise. I am back. But welcome, guys, to today's episode of Market Check. Of course, brought to you by BB. A reminder, as always, that there is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about these markets. I'm going to give our introductions. I might be a little bit rusty, guys. It's been a while since I've since I've hosted this show, but I am so excited to be back with you guys. Excited to be back with the Discord, and most importantly, excited to be talking markets with the boys and prices going up. So what can we really complain about after all? But yeah, I'm Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy. I'm joined by Max and Tucker. Like I said, guys, it is so good to be back. I hope you all kind of had a great last week and a half. I know I say that it's been a very choppy market, right? And I was telling Max and Tucker, I kind of picked a perfect time to go on vacation. But I mean, the market is, I think, kind of signaling a little bit here that the bottom might be in, that the chop might be over, and that, of course, it might be time to resume the pump once again, not just in Bitcoin and crypto, but also, of course, equity markets as well. Before we start cooking all that big juicy alpha for you guys, you know what I'm going to have to ask you. I haven't asked it for you guys from you guys in a long time, so I hope you will oblige, of course. But I'm going to ask you to hit that like button, to smash that like button. We are getting a really nice pump off the lows today. We're seeing a really nice signal, I think, from the CPI print as well. So if you guys could hit that like button, we're going to be dropping all the alpha that we possibly can. And I'll be trying to catch up and make up for any lost time here over the last week and a half. But let's dive right into it, guys, because I mean, I don't like to lead with CPI or macro ever, but the last few CPI prints have been hotter than anticipated, right? Or, inflation has been coming in hot, a sign that inflation is rising, something that, we're not surprised about, generally speaking. But this inflation print kind of had a bit of a different feel to it, right? You had kind of what seems like inflation's probably not cooling, but at the very least, this print is going to probably set some sort of narrative that perhaps it is. And we are seeing, as I said, markets respond in kind. I think when markets digest this, probably over the next few days, it likely will be a positive catalyst. And if inflation is coming down, I think you have the justification, perhaps, for a healthy rally spawning from something like rate cuts. So definitely something that I want to talk about later on this show today. I'm sure we'll get Jackus and Will in here as well. I'm very interested to hear their thoughts, of course, after my hiatus. But Bitcoin, ETH, altcoins, I mean, they are rallying pretty strongly off the bottom. And I'll tell you guys what, when I was gone, I really tried to stay away from screens. I was definitely thinking about the market, right? Because I always joke, you can never really fully remove yourself from this market, especially crypto. But I was doing a pretty good job of it. But I did log on to Twitter, CT, and I just kept like the sentiment shifts that I kept seeing because I didn't have service. I'm only logging in probably once every like 6 or 7 hours, but it's like every time I log back in, it's a different sentiment. It's like it's so over, we're so back. It's so over, we're so back, over and over and over again. It was kind of exhausting to a certain extent, but I think that's something that you often see from Chop. And the more I look at the charts, the more I draw some parallels to the summer of 2021 and the bottom that was formed 3 years ago. I would say the sentiment's somewhat similar. The price action's not exactly the same on something like Bitcoin, but I think with a lot of these altcoins, some altcoins going down 50, 60% in 1 to 2 weeks. That was definitely something that we saw during that range. And especially these bottoms where you have multiple retests of the low without it breaking. That's something I definitively remember from the summer of 2021. So we'll see if it plays out similarly, but I think this is a very constructive looking bottom so far, not just on Bitcoin, but also Ethereum and a lot of these altcoins. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to speak too long because I know we will probably have a lot that we're going to talk about on the show. But yeah, no, I think these look very constructive from a bottom standpoint. Let's dive right into the markets, guys. I'm really happy to be back. I see while I was gone, I picked up a new nickname, Snorkel. I love that. maybe I changed my name to Snorkel for one of these shows one of these days. But what do we see in the markets, guys?
The pump, man. The pump is here, Tommy. The pump is here. You really are not going to be able to leave the country for a while because the market is terrible while you're gone. You come back immediately. Look at the chart, man. I mean, the pump is here. I still think we look pretty similar to this. I really do. So vertical, right? Vertical soon. Vertical now. Vertical now. Vertical soon. So, I mean, I can't. Like, this really looks pretty damn sim. I don't know. It's hard for me to ignore. We don't have to do this, right? We don't have to go straight up, but
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I mean, we can. That'd be
No,
great.
we have to. We have to.
We have to.
We have to.
All right, yeah. But
the bear market started, guys?
No.
They told me bear market started.
I know. I heard that too. I heard that.
Dude, it just feels so nice to finally not be stuck at the range low. That was such a boring, like 7.5. Like it's like
Terrible.
7 to 9 days or whatever, depending on where you want to measure from. It was so boring, man.
Yeah.
It was so boring. I want us to just rip face right here, man. I want it so badly. We have been reaccumulating for long enough. Okay. We have been chopping and bleeding and annoying everybody for long enough. It is time. All right. It is time. We have put in our dues. We are in a bull market. Send this shit with haste. Okay. Everything looks good, man. The Bears had their chance. They failed again. Okay. They failed again. It's time to send this thing higher. They had their chance. They had their chance. Undoubtedly, they had their chance. No question.
Bears must be the most abused animal out there right now.
Jackus is the zookeeper, man. It's these bears are about to get tranquilized, man. They're going to sleep. It's like, look at the structure, right? Like this whole time for Bitcoin, you were just ranging, right? It was a long range. It was a choppy range. One could even say it was bullshit. Okay. It was. But we had pretty clearly defined levels the entire time, even amidst the chop. And then we had our textbook deviation of 57, which is what we were anticipating being a local low, because it sort of fit that pullback threshold that we've seen for Bitcoin, the past year and a half of we don't really go much more than 20 to 23%. It's like right in that window where there is measurably diminished volatility to the downside for Bitcoin as it's now matured. Not to say that we won't ever have big pullbacks beyond 25% again. We certainly will in a bear market, like no question. But you kind of have to go off of the trend that you have in front of you. And we hadn't had one in the past year and a half. I said 57 is juicy for a lot of reasons, right? Like we could come back in. There's certainly an absence of volume within that little region. It's a hot technical level. It'd be a nice bear trap. And man, there's no question in my mind that people that capitulated now at 57, they screwed the pooch. The proverbial pooch has been screwed by people that shorted or sold 57. And it was not an easy one to hold through. It was scary. It was difficult, right? I certainly didn't cheat, but I get it. But this thing looks good. I don't see why we don't move, at least move up to the range highs from here. I don't see why.
There is still so many people waiting for 53K even that want to jump in. And I think those people are right now getting front run. I mean, they already have, but right now it's getting confirmed, right? Obviously, we are not there yet, but it's looking very promising. And I think the pain has reached its maximum potential, the frustration in the market and in the social media in the past days. And it's time, especially that equities are hitting new all-time highs. I do not really see much reason for BTC to head lower anymore, and therefore the market. Anyways, guys, I actually just had a quick jump in, but I gotta leave you guys. And given it's a full stack panel, I think you guys will do well for today. So
you're leaving, Jackus? Oh my gosh!
I am.
Oh my
gosh! I unfortunately ain't gonna enjoy the bear copium today. The roasting of the bears. I'll leave that to you guys. I was here to help people when they were very loud, and that's not easy, but I'm sure you guys can do really well roasting them.
All right, Jack.
Anyways, see ya.
See ya. All right.
Study
got-
the bars, Max. Study the bars. Okay, not the days, but the bars. Study
What do
the
you
bars.
walk me through that? You mean like how the candles actually look?
73 bars. Okay, 77 bars.
Oh man.
All right. Yeah, I like it. I mean, this was 12 days. This is 77 days, but study the bars. Okay, study the bars.
Oh my.
We're going up, man. We're going up, but
It's like, why change the playbook if it just keeps working, right?
yeah, like you even had like this and then the pump and this and then the pump. Like I'm sure everybody here was waiting for like this to get hit. You know what I mean? Just like everybody here is waiting for this to get hit. And it's just not going to happen. Just simply not going to happen. Look at that. Not going to happen. Get front run again.
God, it looks really good, man. Like, call it an Adam and Eve bottom, call it a inverse head and
It's the
shoulders.
25K playbook is what it is.
Will, people
lot
got
of people
so
didn't catch it.
greedy. They got so greedy, just like they did at the last range.
Yeah.
You remember we were talking about that, Will, where like at like the most obvious level on the charts always get front run in these bull markets. That is precisely what happened here, man. The same shit. Same exact thing.
That was the thesis for never below 60K, but we went a little bit below. I did say we could deviate, and we deviated, and then we pulled right back out of it. And I think people still think this is fake. They still think that this is going to roll over, and they're going to find out the hard way. This is basically it. Like the
Really?
whole, I'm not getting into alts right now. You're going to learn the hard way on that one too.
Yes, you are. You absolutely are.
That's just how it goes, though. You know, someone has to learn the hard way, right?
Someone does. Yeah, someone does need.
Someone has to learn.
The ETH ETF, they have a decision coming up right over the next like.
That's happening, man. That's my hot take for the year. It's happening.
Well, ETH needs it to happen, otherwise it's going to die. So
prove it.
If they deny it, the market's already pricing it in. So,
yeah, for sure.
There are birds outside. My cat's freaking out.
What do you think the pullback was all about, Tommy?
Wait, is that a roaring kitty, Tommy?
Was not mint.
No, yeah, it's already priced in. The rejection's priced in for sure. Yeah, I agree.
Like people don't get it. They're like, oh, well, as soon as they reject, it's going to go down. No, it's actually going to go up because they already priced in your rejection, bro.
For sure.
It's already in the market.
Well, imagine if they approve it. I mean, good Lord, right?
Oh, we're going straight back up. We're probably going to 4K if they approve it.
I think they're going to approve it, man. I think they're going to do it. That would be insane.
You think they're just going to approve it? You don't think they're going to delay it again? Like the whole, the Bitcoin.
Now they've already been delaying it, bro. Bullish delays.
But how many? Delays. I agree with you, but how many times did the Bitcoin ETF get delayed?
I don't know. A bunch.
I mean, bro, it was probably like 4 or 5 times. You know,
even if they delay it, the market's already priced in the negative.
I don't think they can. I think this is like their final thing, though, isn't it?
There is one in August. I mean, they'll probably delay it to August, but I think
if there's one in August, then they'll for sure delay it. Yeah.
But
because
the delay is
already. If the market's already priced in a negative response to the ETF, then what's the marginal downside beyond maybe a wick on the lower time frame upon delay? You know,
I thought it was the final one was like Mace. It was like tomorrow, but if they have one in August, then they'll for sure delay it, which is fine. Bullish.
We got the doctor on camera. It's always a good show when the doctor's on camera.
True.
Will, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
It's always prime time when we get the doctor on camera, man. It always elevates the experience. What's that chop behind you, though, Will? You should maybe change that fractal to a parabola. Oh, okay, your head was in the way. It looked like that was a range.
It looked like chop. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Will, we're almost at 65K. You need to change that background, man.
I have to put up, basic chart patterns because a lot of people just don't understand what a basic chart pattern looks like. They just say 50K and that's it because they heard it on Twitter.
Well, you got to tell them about that rounded bottom, man. You got to explain that the curvature of the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been pretty apparent what's been going on with the overall market here. Let me do this. But I think like with Bitcoin specifically, I mean, first I wanted to kind of touch on Apple a little bit.
What's the McDonald's logo doing on the Apple chart?
This is where I was memeing the Bears. I was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get the McDonald's symbol. We're gonna go all the way down." Just basically making fun of them because they have no clue. They were looking for the M formation when in reality, all you were doing is forming a bottom in the range, and it was the same bottom roughly in the range of where our previous accumulation. And you have to understand kind of like where your technicals lie, right? Your technicals they lied in here, they lied in here, like where your retests were. And once you reclaim, now you're screwed for downside. You're absolutely screwed. This thing's going straight up. Like Apple's it's going to moon from here. I think this is the breakout move. You got the gap right here. You might come back and fill it a little bit, but you're going to moon off of this.
That consolidation at the top of the range is a carbon copy of the Bitcoin 25K bottom.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, man. And people don't realize that this is what you call a range, and this range is basically just price consolidating. That's going to do this. So it's price coming to a point, consolidation, breakout. That's all it is. It's a simple chart pattern, nothing too complicated.
Where do you think that pattern resolves to, Will? Quickly before you move on, like
I would throw a fib on this, man. Like I would throw a fib on this. I think like this is all just chop. When in reality, what you wanted to see is you wanted to see your high to low positioning, which would be that. And
so you think that 1618,
228. Yeah. The thing is fibs are highly respected on high time frames. I think using fibs on smaller time frames is really sketchy, but higher time frames it works out better.
Well, that is a textbook like breakout and retest right there. Just even like you don't even look at it in terms, in my opinion, of like diagonals. Like look at the high. You have it marked as A. It looks like you have like an Elliott wave on there.
Yeah,
that shit is your range high, and this chop at the previous range high and how it's holding off that double bottom, man, that is like textbook. We are about to rip,
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Apple ripping, being one of the biggest companies in the world, it's really a sign of, I would say it's going to give a lot of confidence to investors if Apple is showing tremendous strength, making new highs day after day. And this breakout that you have drawn here happens and we go to 228. I don't see why the markets don't just kind of melt up in that scenario if that does play out.
If Apple's going to 228, the rest of the market is significantly higher. Not a little bit, significantly higher.
What percentage is that up to the 1.618, like roughly? Like 10%, 20%?
It's a 20% move on Apple. That's big. That's a lot of money flow.
That's huge. It's $1 trillion asset. So
yeah.
I mean, you're talking. Where's the liquidity going to come from, though, Will?
What does Apple and Nvidia look like? The pair right now?
Again, I think people they misinterpret liquidity for actual existing money versus loans, right? Or versus basically fractionalized money or fake money. As your interest rates lower, you'll probably start to see more and more loans go out based on money that doesn't exist, and this then creates money flow into the economy on money that does not exist. That's the problem with fractionalized loans. Is it's like a loan into a loan into a loan. It's like the bank loans to a loan shark, the loan shark loans to your local guy who's wanting a payday loan, and then the payday loan guy, he's probably fronting his checks or whatever. Like, just not to overcomplicate it, but at the end of the day, it's loans within loans that create this fractionalized system, and those things get easier and easier to give out and less risky with less interest rates. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. So since we are going to be going into a lowering rate environment, you're going to see more loans come into the economy. And if you see more loans, you're going to see more spending. And if you see more spending, you're going to see a lot of these things just, float higher, essentially.
So you're proposing that we rally through the first couple of cuts.
We might get a leg jerk reaction or a knee jerk reaction on the first cut, but the thing that people aren't anticipating is that knee jerk reaction could happen from higher.
And by the way, Will, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. And I've talked about this before, where if you go and you look at the last Fed tightening cycle through hikes to pause to cuts in 2019 through 2020, we basically did a shortened version of what I'm expecting this round, where all through the pause, we rally hard like we're doing right now. And then we get, 225 basis point cuts and shit hasn't hit the fan yet. And we just continue to rally, and that's when you get that real, like the last mania exhaustive push up. So like, if you're talking about, hey, we not only have the rest of this pause, presumably through September to continue to rally, everything's going to look great. And then we're going to get a couple cuts to just, really put the icing on the cake before something bad happens. That's basically what I'm expecting. And I think that probably comes in 2025, truthfully. I know maybe some people think later. I think either really late 2024 or 2025, but certainly after the election, in my opinion.
One thing I've noticed with Lucid specifically, and this is something because like this stock failed me so badly on what I thought I was going to do. But one thing I've noticed from a pattern aspect is it does this and then it does this, right? It does this and then it does this. And I feel like we're doing that again here, creating that rally scenario, and it could make a big move, come back up and retest. And if that happens for Lucid, which I don't think is doing too great personally by the chart perspective, then I would say you probably got an alt season or some kind of weird like low cap, high risk play getting ready to play out. And that's what I think like a lot of people are not anticipating here. And if the high risk play plays, that means altcoins somehow get some kind of play while Bitcoin's moving here. And then all that liquidity from altcoins that rushed in real fast rushes right back into Bitcoin and pushes it. So we've had a little bit of enticement at the moment with altcoins, as we've seen with the whole GME squeeze thing. Whatever that comes of that, it comes, at the end of the day. But this portion right here is the portion that I'm more interested in, because I think that we're seeing money flow start to move back into Bitcoin. Bitcoin probably reaches its highs. The question is, does it get stomped at 68? Because if it gets stomped at 68, which is kind of where I'm watching at the moment, that's an important level. Then at that point, it's kind of, an area where you got to really kind of pay attention to what's going on here. Because you hit 68 and you roll over, I would expect something like a higher low. So my thoughts are something like this, 68, move like this, and then like that, reuse it as support, and then a breakout. That's my thoughts. And from an extended scenario, because I do think it would take about that much time, probably another 2 months of just hanging out in this like little bowl area. But we're slowly curving out of it. And this is what I was telling people here. I was like, this is your low. That's your low that you were looking for the whole time. That low 50s, this was your low 50s, except it wasn't low 50s. It was high 50s. And I think this is where a lot of people missed the boat. They completely missed it because they were so desperate. And you could see the desperation, like even in the chat, like, no offense to the audience, obviously, to some people. But you could see the desperation in the chat of them really wanting that 50K retest. And it wasn't just the chat, it was CT, it was everybody. And now that that's not occurring and we're kind of rolling back up, now people are questioning their positioning. And I think the higher this thing goes, the more and more they're going to question it. And eventually they're going to pull the trigger and buy higher because they sold here.
So as much as I do want us to go straight up, the scenario you have mapped here would probably be the healthiest longer term if we built that base, because then it's going to be tough for us to pull back through that. I don't know if you saw this, Will. I haven't looked into it, but somebody in the DB Discord just posted it. It looks like Cash App maybe put a pause on being able to trade GameStop, which feels very familiar.
No way. Is that real?
I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Somebody just posted a screenshot of it. So,
dude,
I don't know.
Big if true.
I
Big if
haven't looked
true.
into it, but somebody
Yeah.
somebody posted that.
I mean, the thing is like how many people are buying crypto through Cash App? I don't think many people. I'm not
It's
gonna
kind of
lie.
a normie exchange though, man. Like it kind of
I
is.
think they would go Robinhood though before they go Cash App. I would think.
I agree. For sure Robinhood's way bigger, but Cash App's kind of like a normie, like, oh, I have $200, I'm gonna like buy one share kind of an app. So
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think the more important things here to really kind of pay attention to is oil and dollar. And just like I discussed when I said petrodollar, like oil looks really freaking weak. Looks really weak. You're under a bear trend on top of it. So, like people that are saying inflation is not coming down, you're absolutely wrong.
The cool
Inflation wasn't
CPI
coming.
print today is probably going to hurt oil in the immediate term. You have to imagine, because I mean, the dollar looks awful, and we've been talking about this, how it's kind of only a matter of time before you see the dollar roll over. I think we're finally starting to see that weakness creep in the dollar, and what better catalyst than inflation, quote unquote, cooling down. It's still probably going to be a pain in the butt over the next few years. But I mean, at the very least, in the short term, it's probably going to be used as you said, Will, a justification for them to cut some rates over the next few months.
Yeah, they can only damage oil so much. They don't want this to reoccur again. They do not want that. Even as much as they pretend to hate oil, this would destroy the dollar, and they can't have that happen. Like oil coming down, like again, always think of it like petrodollar. Petroleum gets wrecked, dollars getting destroyed. And they know this because after they took it out the gold standard, the backing was oil, even though they don't say it out loud. And it's our strength. It is. We have a lot of oil here in the U.S. that we can actively get to, but we don't because of regulations, so on and so forth. So we buy outside, and that holds the strength of our dollar because we give them dollar, they give us oil. That holds up. That basically floats up our dollar. But you can see right here, like this thing looks real. Like if anything, we're bearish, and now we're bearish on anything. Like it's not about rollover, right? The rollover limp meat pattern, like that stuff doesn't really matter because it's more it's still flaccid, right? The problem is when it's not flaccid. Now you got a problem because now you got this rollover pattern that kind of looks like it's just like floating down, and it's going to capitulate at some point. And when that capitulation happens, you better bet the dollar's going to roll with it. They're going to roll together. And really, if you look at the pattern from US dollar all the way back here look, I've got it all going all the way back to 08 in a channel, right? This is a lot of price history. Like this is
the dollar looks
it's not
terrible,
something to
bro.
fake.
The dollar looks terrible. Horrible.
Like you got these lows and you got these highs. You hit your high, you hit your high, you hit your high. Like to think dollar's going to go higher, you're absolutely high because the reality
Nuke it.
is like
Nuke
this
it.
is where we're heading. That's where we're heading for dollar. And if
And
dollar's
Will,
going down,
even
assets go up.
locally, I don't know if you like to zoom in on DXY, the range that we've been in locally, it looks like we're going to head to 100 pretty quickly. Like that looks like it's the complacency shoulder of all complacency. Like even just to retest those lows again before the big move you have drawn, like even just a local move, it looks terrible. It looks so heavy.
You're at the high end range of your even if you were to play this as a range,
Yep.
you're in the area where you would be selling.
Yep. 100%.
And I think people aren't looking at this enough.
So you
right?
have stocks going to basically all-time highs if they're not already there today. DXY rejecting from local range high, which by the way is a big range. Like range high is like 106, 107, range lows like 99 or 100. Right?
Yeah,
It's
well,
like
range,
you kind of have a storm brewing here.
I got 95 if it can reach there in the time I think it can. And a lot of people may be like, "Oh, it's 95. It's not the big." That's big. That's really big. Like,
Will,
you're
do you
in a
think that
full-on
we could
bull market
actually
right now.
break? So we've been in this channel for a long time that you have drawn here. It's a clean
Well, it's a
channel,
bear flag.
but channels are meant to be broken eventually.
Mhm.
Do you think if we go to 95 that actually we could maybe just see the floor give out finally? Because it'll only hold for so long, right? Like,
I mean, I'll give you an example because I think, like, again, people need to look at these examples and really kind of, think for themselves. But like, here was the last time we went into a channel formation, and that didn't end well, right? It didn't end well
What did
because
stocks
dollar
do
didn't
during
sell
that?
that.
What did stocks do during that nuke right there?
Well, this is 2000 all the way to 08.
Oh, so we rallied hard, like after the bottom for the .com bubble, then we rallied hard into 2007, 2008, and then nuked again. But,
And then
but we rallied really hard.
But we rallied really hard. Exactly. So if we break this low, you're just going to go into a decade of rally. That's what's going to happen. Like, you might as well not even look for pullbacks if you break that. And you should look for this pattern right here to play out again over here. You'll probably bottom. Here's the thing, though. You do have, again, this is why patterns are important. You have this trend. Look. Right there. You have a solid trend down that's continuing to show, kind of where that landing will occur. And if you come down, I mean, you're looking at 63-cent dollar. That's a massively under, like, the dollar would be destroyed in this range. Now, some people may not think that's possible, but I can tell you, people didn't see 71 cents either. But 2008 made that happen. I do think this is going to turn into some kind of turmoil, right? And you have to be careful once you start getting down to these levels. But if you break this, you've got think about when our parents bought houses for like 30,000 to 100,000, to 300,000. Well, I wouldn't say two. We'll say we'll say anywhere from 30, depending on how old you are, from 30,000 to like 150,000. That was the cost of their house. If this breaks, you're going to be in that era of their growth.
Like,
does that make sense?
In terms of portfolio returns, or you just mean like assets are cheap and you get to buy? Like, what do you mean by that?
Assets here are cheap, and assets here are very expensive.
So you think we're gonna melt up?
So if this is the case and this breaks, then when our parents bought houses from 30,000 to 150,000, it will be like that right now. And then by the end of this, they'll be worth significantly more. And then there'll be a catastrophic scenario that will crush the entire market and rebalance things, like in 08.
Mm-hmm.
If that were to happen, right? And so, like, people being bearish here doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. You get bearish when your trend gets really destroyed to the downside. That's where your era has pretty much ended. Yeah. So, like, if we were to break this today and get to here, I'd be absolutely scared.
Yeah, it's funny because into 2022, I guess, might have been a little different because the dollar looked super primed and bullish. But if you look back historically at a lot of market crashes like 2008, and then I look at 1987, those were two crashes where the dollar was rapidly declining into those crashes, and that's probably a big contributor as to why those crashes actually happened, because I'm sure you had people levered to the gills, and meanwhile their dollars are simultaneously losing value, so it puts a lot of pressure on essentially their collateralization ratios. So
you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and I do think you kind of have to probably view at least this current year, this current pump, this cycle, if you will, more similarly to that of 2006 to 2008, rather than something more like the tech bubble, because we kind of already had our tech bubble moment in 2021, 2020. So this is like, I mean, that doesn't mean that we have to double top on the S&P in the same way that we did in 2008. But I think cyclically, you're probably going to see some of those proxies that indicated the risk in the market behave similarly.
I would say play the channel till the channel breaks. I'm not saying we're having a tech bubble, but I will say don't fade that we can't have a bubble, because we have to factor in what we have. And what do we have that's new? AI. It is new. It is something that's being spoke about, and it is a new era. It's a new era of tech in general, right? So like we always have to take these things in strides, and people don't think that they're real at first, right? Just like people didn't think the internet was real in the 90s. And then they found out in 2000, hey, every school's got a computer. The internet's real. We can really connect with people across the world. People didn't think phones were real, or at least cell phones, in the 90s and so on and so forth. What everybody had pagers, right? And you would go to a local like payphone and call people, or your phone at work or whatever. And that was the thing. And people always believe that things aren't possible until they become possible. Humans are very creative creatures. They can make things happen. We've proven this time and time again. We can fly, and I don't mean with your arms. I mean with a plane. we can create explosives that can destroy half the world if we want to. Like, we have to understand, like, our evolution is beyond what most people can imagine, and we always take things from what we think as a person because we work at the local grocery store. We don't think that certain things are possible, but they are, right? And that's no shade at somebody who does that. It's just saying, like, you have to think outside of your own situation and think about the evolution of humanity, from horses to cars to from rocks, and I'm getting into like a lot of
To the
philosophical
invention
stuff,
of
but
Pepe.
the point being is
Forward
that
progress.
is that AI is something to not be faded. That's the point I wanted to get to. I do think it's an evolutionary tech that will evolve to be something much better than what it is now. And I think it will help improve our lack of participation on the work side of things. And that's really what the purpose of this AI push is. I think a lot of people don't understand that, is to lessen the amount of employees, therefore increasing the amount of profitability of the company. And nobody gets this. They don't get it. They're like, oh, it's going to replace. No, it's not going to replace anything. We're already short on people. We're not replacing. We're filling positions that we don't have people to fill with AI. That's what we're doing. Like, the demand is higher now than it is our actual growth. And so from that, I would say we could create a bubble. Good.
Speaking of AI, Speaking of AI, I'd love to touch on NVIDIA or even AI coins and crypto here, given that we have NVIDIA earnings coming up. I know Render's been showing a lot of relative strength against the market here over the last few weeks. I'm sure there may be some other coins as well that could be worth playing. WorldCoin is not one of them, though. Maybe it pumps, but I guess they're going to have like 50 million in sell pressure every single day for the next few weeks. So maybe they get an exit pump on WorldCoin, but I'd have to imagine if there is a coin worth shorting in the market, that's probably one.
Yeah.
If NVIDIA beats earnings, do you guys understand what's about to happen to the market? Everything.
I mean, they're gonna beat, man. It's all rigged, like they will be. If they want to beat, they'll beat. Like, they will.
True.
Like, look at their past like 5 or 6 earnings. They beat all of them.
Look at AMD, and people think NVIDIA is crazy.
We can't see
just
that percentage.
do the
is
math.
a little small. What's that percentage? I can't see it.
How do we increase the percentage size?
I don't know if you can. You'd have to go to like a percentage tool rather than
percent. Okay, let me grab a percentage tool rather than
because then you can modify the size.
ruler.
I think the default one there doesn't let you do it.
Let me go to that.
Oh my god, we're about to be at 65K. Let's go, boys.
We already tagged it today, Tucker.
Higher.
Yeah, we'll just go there, to be fair. There you go. How's that?
That's big enough. 37,000.
371,000.
No.
No.
30.
All right,
Isn't
no, you're right. 37,000. Okay. Yeah, my bad. I'm tripping.
It's like maybe
but
it's
yeah,
small.
37,000%, right? 37,000%. Let's go again. 12,437%. Like, people just need to like zoom out. They need to zoom out and understand what's going on here. Tech is leading the way. It is absolutely leading the way when it comes to everything that we see and everything we have going on right now. So I can't explain. Like this is why unemployment's so difficult to gauge. Like look at this. How much is that?
3,000.
3,000. Okay. So that's 3,000. How much is this?
That's 306,000.
306,000. So this was 3,000 here. And what was AMD here?
10x that.
Okay. So was Nvidia actually overpriced?
It's not.
It's not.
Well, if we're yes, in this scenario,
In
drawing
comparison.
comparisons, it's not. It's
In
not.
comparison, it's not. And
So
and I
what
think
would
this is
overpriced be then for Nvidia? 5,000 a share? Like what? I mean, where do you
that's
look
the
at
hard
it and
part to
go?
gauge.
Where do you look at it and just go, this nothing is worth this much? Like, no, we have buyer exhaustion. Where is that point? We talked about seller exhaustion, but where does buyer exhaustion come in?
I don't see buyer exhaustion
Well,
anywhere.
not yet, but like, where do you think that would be? You know,
To speculate that here, it's not easy, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like this is the weirdest chart pattern I've ever seen.
no, that's an
Like,
elite chart pattern.
I won't come on here and stream like I know exactly what's going on here, guys, because I don't. Right? You had some consolidation here, but like this thing's just up, no consolidation really, up, no consolidation really, up, no consolidation, and it might do it again.
Yeah.
And people just aren't getting like you do have this bear trend here that has been here for a long time, and I think some people will look at this up like, oh, it'll come over. No, it won't. Go look at healthcares. They do this all the time. They just
Can
keep
you
trying to
zoom in
do
on
it.
that trend, Will, the bear trend you were talking about? Like maybe lower the time frame a little bit, because I want to just see like how we'd interact with it, and if we flip it. If Nvidia flips that, for one, what are the chances that it holds it, and that's your new like perma support?
That's what I've been looking for. That's exactly what
So
I've been
what
looking for.
level do you need to get above for that to be true?
I'd say on the weekly, and the thing is, this stock's been around so long, a monthly is actually not that high of a time frame. But I would say on the weekly, you need to fill this area. I'd say you get up to like 1,500, you're gonna now flip this as support because you need to be significantly above it, right? You can't just be poking through it. So I'd say you get the $1,500 Nvidia. This is no longer coming back down below. It's no longer resistance. It's now a support. And so, like, if I were to zoom out, I would say like this was your play, and then you get up to 1,500, you're going to be like this.
I have such a tough time imagining that. Like, that's
It.
not that it can't happen, right? Like
Yeah.
it just seems crazy,
I always had to bring you
And then
back
you're
to the
talking
Apple
about-
conversation.
But you're talking about a company that at that point would be worth like tens of trillions, and that's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, right? I mean, think about 20 years ago, right? The idea of a
Look
trillion
at
dollar
Apple.
company. Well, the idea of a $1 trillion company was literally that was a joke 20 years ago. But
Mhm.
now it's like we have multiple companies worth multiple trillions. So things can change quickly. It just, the mind has a tough time of wrapping itself around ideas like that.
I would say I agree with that. Here's the trick, right? Do you see fiscal spending slowing down at all or speeding up? as
Hell
time has gone
no.
on?
Speeding up. Hell no.
So-
Hell no.
So-
What are you talking about? Slowing down, bro. They just keep printing and keep spending. Doesn't
So-
matter if there's a recession, doesn't matter what the hell's going on. They just keep spending.
So if you don't see fiscal spending slowing down and you see it speeding up, don't you think in 10 years we get 10x fiscal spending?
Yeah, or just the dollar loses so much value that 10 trillion is not what it is right now.
So see this right here? That's vertical accumulation, Max. I will say that is vertical accumulation. Now,
Can you do this for me, Will? Actually, can you go back to that
Yeah.
chart? I need you to
Mhm.
type something in though. All right, so type in Nvidia, or you could just do it on the chart. So like the normal one. So literally just
Okay.
start typing.
okay. NVIDIA.
NVDA, so the ticker, and then divided by / M2SL,
Have you seen this comment, Max?
and then just hit return. So that's NVIDIA adjusted for the increase in the money supply. So changes
Max.
things maybe a little bit. Max says, Max says, anyone ever told you look like Michael Fassbender? I don't think so. I think
That's real, man. It's
Do I look like
real.
him, you think?
You kind of do.
Let's see.
I mean, look at it.
I could see it a little bit, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I could see it, ish.
What do you think of this, Max?
I mean, that's a parabola.
I'm just saying, man. Like, look,
So that's NVIDIA
consolidation.
adjusted for the debasement of fiat currency, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, this looks like it's just gonna go north. Like, I don't even like. It looks like it's just gonna do that. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, it may have a blow off top, but that's what it looks like it wants to do. So I don't know if that's everybody else's thoughts, but I don't know. I'm pretty adamant about the growth. I think NVIDIA's growth is, going to be astonishing. AMD is pushing them every day. You got to keep that in mind too. They're keeping them on their toes, just like AMD did to Intel. Absolutely destroyed them on the chip side. So Intel now has to catch up to something like AMD, and I think that not enough people are looking at the competition as a reasoning for massive advancement and then continuing to create spinning bills that will float into these. The CHIPS Act was the first indication to me that they were going to push these things. Like, I don't think enough people thought about that when the CHIPS Act bill was actually passed in 2021.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you guys can probably take it over from there. But I mean, I'm looking at this. If you look at the debasement of the dollar on top of that, I think those two hand in hand. Like, if the dollar starts doing this, then
That would
I
be
think
so much
NVIDIA
fun,
will start
bro.
doing that.
That would be so much fun. Can you imagine that? Like over the next 5 years or something? That'd be so much fun to
We
trade.
would fly, man. We would have
This is a 10-year cycle right there, basically. I mean, well, 7 technically, but you get a long period of just don't even sell. Don't even sell. Just like literally just hold it, do what your grandparents did, and be a buyer, and that's it. Not even trade.
Man, that'd be so much fun, bro.
Iowa.
All right, well, good stuff, Will. Appreciate you cooking, man. That was fun. Tucker, what do you got for us, man? You working on something in the background?
I mean, I've just kind of been staring at Pepe and
Hard not to.
STX. I got some ideas for STX, but I mean, dude, we're just going higher. Like, there's nothing really more to be said. I mean, we talked about this. Like,
We're just above that 3. That's so bullish,
we're
man.
literally above what is this? The daily close. Yeah, the highest
daily close and 3-day Bollinger Band.
And 3-day Bollinger Band. It's like, study what happens when you get above the 3-day Bollinger Band, right? Like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't know. I wouldn't fade it. I wouldn't fade it with the MACD as well.
That 3-day MACD is
God, dude.
textbook, man.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I genuinely believe that Pepe is probably going to be the best performer of any coin above $1 billion market cap for the rest of the cycle. And it's still like 4 or 5 billion right now. I still think it, from a multiple standpoint, it's probably going to return higher than any other coin that is already above $1 billion in market capitalization.
Yeah.
What's your target, Tommy?
My target.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
I mean, realistically, there is no reason that Pepe cannot go after that all-time high market cap that Doge set last cycle, around 90 to 100 billion.
Man.
There are a lot of dogs. There are a lot of dogs, but there are only one frog. There's only one
How do I
frog.
make this market cap, Max?
You can't. You have to. There's a Pepe market cap ticker.
Well,
So-
yeah, but you can't just make it market cap.
You could add on. So go to the other chart if you wanted to.
Garbage.
So now do the plus sign in the upper left and add on the Pepe market cap chart, and it will show up as another axis that you could see.
Which one?
Just do new price scale, the middle one. Now you can see the market caps on the other side. See? But maybe then hide the ticker or whatever. So go to your indicators, or yeah, that's fine. So now little hack for you.
Am I messing it up?
You just have to keep it auto, like double click it and then double click both axes, and then it will.
But then how do I?
You don't. Or you have to put the price on there and line it up.
I need to. Okay.
Oh my.
You can't. How does this work, Max?
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to zoom out.
Put it in log mode. Stop being a freak about it.
Max, log mode. Look at. No.
You need the log Bollinger Bands, brother.
How?
Yeah, I would say this though. I know Pepe looks really good, but
Dude.
I would also look at Bonk. I don't know if you guys have been looking at that.
Let's look at Bonk.
That could be a nice trailer.
Dude,
I know
Tucker
Sisu's been saying he
capitulated.
Bonk can outperform.
Just capitulated.
Tucker just capitulated.
Where's the real Bonk chart?
Bonk USD.
Mexi. It's got to be Mexi.
Yeah, that looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I think the unit cost is going to eventually probably hurt WIF. I think that's something that we've talked about on this show in the past. And, it's nothing against WIF. I love the meme, but there is quite a bit of dog dilution is the phrase I used in the Discord last night. That's why I like Pepe so much. If you're talking about normies coming in, like which dog do you buy? You're probably going to buy the dog that is a new coin. If you've already invested in something like Doge or SHIB or WIF, and B, you're going to buy something with the low unit cost bias. So for that reason, what does Bonk look like against WIF on the pairing? I'm actually curious.
Little bit bottomed, low key.
Probably some rotation at the very least, some mean reversion between
Put
these
that
two.
in log mode, Tucker. Watch this. Put that in log mode. Is there a trend line to the left or no? Am I making this up?
What do you mean?
Like you're a little zoomed in, maybe.
I think positioning into WIF might have gotten a little too overweight relative to other meme coins, and now you're seeing, people really start to explore the market a little bit more.
We gotta use these Mexi charts. That'll give us more. Yeah.
See, that's like, look at that trend, the downtrend.
Yeah,
Draw like a diagonal across those. Like that low key, that pair could be bottomed. It could be.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm willing to sell WIF into Bonk. I'm just saying that looks like it has a fighting chance,
I think WIF will do well. Don't get me wrong, but I think you can definitely make an argument. And Will pointed it out. Sisu pointed it out in the Discord. I think last week that Bonk can definitely outperform WIF from here. Absolutely, and I think unit cost is probably psychologically the biggest driver behind that.
This thing went down 96% against WIF. It's up 70 against WIF right now. When was that? End of April? That was literally the halving. Bottomed on the halving, huh? Interesting.
So have you guys seen Don Alt's tweets recently?
No, I don't really follow him.
Yeah,
I don't either, but someone posted it in the Discord that he is like doomer right now, specifically about memes or something. So I don't know if it's Cope. Or if you think it's Cope?
I mean, yeah, I've heard all I need to hear. It's Cope. he's bearish on memes. It's clearly Cope. Like what's he looking at?
I mean, I couldn't be more bullish memes, truthfully. So then I see some of these guys adopting a very bearish posture, and I'm not sure what it's really based off of. And I don't really see it. At this point, like things could change, right? They might have foresight that I don't have, but the data that I have is dictating my decision making, and it seems like there's a lot of attention and liquidity flowing into the same handful of strong memes. So I don't know. I don't really get why he's like doom posting. I mean, he literally said, and I quote, "I'm expecting memes to giga rug." Like that's a quote, a direct quote.
Who said that? Naka?
So he probably said it too, but no, I was talking about this guy, Don Alt. He's got a very big following. I don't really follow his stuff, but I've heard of him before and seen his stuff. But he's like doomer posting memes right now. Someone just posted it in our Discord.
I'll tell you this, like I see a lot of people trying to left curve meme narrative and trying to like I've even had a discussion with a lot of people and even me, like I'm slightly left curving a little bit the GME play, but I'm still in it. But I think like there's just such a large audience that is wanting to left curve the meme play and the GME play and all these things that are happening, that I think that it could actually have a leg to stand on, because the more people you see participating on one side of the trade, the more often it's going to be that they're on the wrong side of the trade. And I can tell you there's a lot of people who got wrecked on GME last cycle that are really abstinent about wanting to re-enter this play again, that they may end up missing out, not necessarily missing out, but like missing out like FOMO, but like missing out on real opportunity, because this could be the play where it actually makes it back, if not better. Like it's just like Tommy, you remember this, like with Bonk, right? When Bonk was at its lows, everybody gave up on it. They said it's done, it's cooked, it's over, and that was like 2023. And then what happened? Solana adopted it. Everybody hopped on board. It ran. And I think not enough people understand that when they think it's dead, it actually comes back with a vengeance. It's the same thing with Pepe. When a team basically rugged it, took all the liquidity, wrecked the chart, rolled over, everybody said it was over. Max was on here bull posting saying, "Hey, I think this thing's gonna flip." And even me, like I wasn't too abstinent. I'm not gonna sit up here and try and cap and be like, "Oh yeah, I thought Pepe was gonna come back," because I didn't know. I didn't know, man. Like I was on the side that the majority was probably wrong, but I was also kind of questionable about it, and it did a lot more than what I thought it was going to do. And I think that's always the hard part, is gauging your audience and understanding when your audience is trying to make the play versus you trying to make the play. And typically, if the audience is trying to make the play, just like low 50s on Bitcoin, they're typically wrong.
Yeah, the market tends to trap a majority of people at market extremities. The one thing I'll say about Don Alt, I mean, he's a fantastic trader, right? Like he has a pretty exceptional track record over the years. So I don't want to necessarily be so quick to dismiss his opinion, but I definitely don't agree with the way that he's viewing the market at the moment. He did buy the bear market lows, like the Pico bottom. He also sold, I think, 40K because he thought that the cycle, or at the very least that Bitcoin could trade a lot lower. I tweeted something kind of along these lines yesterday, but I think, you just have so many people, you have so many smart people, and you have so many fades that are on both sides of the fence. And if you rely too much on the opinions of others, you're just going to twist yourself into some sort of like mental pretzel, where ultimately you're not going to have any conviction. You're not going to have any original opinions, and your portfolio is probably going to suffer as a result of it. So what I would just say, maybe Don Alt is right. Maybe he's not personally, I disagree with him. I think the market's going to go higher from here, and that memes will probably continue to outperform. But you need to have your own opinions in these markets if you're going to succeed. And ultimately, more important than opinions, you need to have your own convictions, because especially with these meme coins, man, you have, I mean, like Will, a lot of people got wrecked in GameStop, for example, last cycle. A lot of the people that bought on the way down are probably in profit now if they had the conviction to hold. So I think, if you have the conviction in your thesis, and you can even fine tune it a little bit more than that, right? Like you can set an invalidation for your thesis, something like Bitcoin below 60K again, and I mean, that would probably look pretty awful in my opinion for meme coins. But as long as you're above that, right, I think the thesis for meme coins remains pretty strong as a whole. And I think that Don Alt is maybe coping a little bit here. Because, I mean, look, Don Alt is he's a great trader, but he's also a bit of a pessimist, which is kind of like the antithesis of what meme coins, pump off of is essentially hope and optimism. So that's what I would say about that.
I just wanted to add to that, and I would tell anybody this, right? And this is truly something I've learned over time, guys. Like I was trading stocks before I was trading crypto, and then I came into crypto and stuff like that, just for the audience's sake, just so they understand. Like anybody who's a pessimist and not like just a participant, right? Like viewing the market as it is, but always just like shit posting pessimism, always Debbie Downer type shit. Like I don't know if those are the people you want to follow, man. Like even in a bull market, they're pessimists. And if you got somebody who's even in a bull market who's a pessimist, why would you want to even entertain them? Like it just blows my mind. And I'll tell you this too, Tommy. Like I bought the bottom. I bought the bottom. I bought the secular 25K play. I posted all this shit. I bought it at 40K while he sold at 40K. Like there are people who are better performers that just don't have as good as large as an audience as some of these players. And I think like not enough people look at that. They look to these people because they have numbers behind them. And that doesn't mean anything. They could have had some great plays in a previous cycle. But if they can't continue to, you have to understand I'll put it like this. I think this is the best terminology. When you're in a sports, right, and you're looking at your team, your favorite team, you need all of your team to be performing at the same level or better. When you get somebody who's in there just dragging and say they're like 50 years old trying to be a QB, they've probably outlived their age, right? They've outlived their prime. They're out of their prime. They're no longer able to perform. There are participants in the trading space who are just like that. I'm not saying that that's Don Alt, by the way, but I'm stating that there are participants in the space who have a huge following, who were great follows for a long time, and now they're just not performing. They're not up to par on this cycle. They can't keep up, and you're starting to see that underperformance from some of these bigger accounts, to where they're confused and they have no clue, and they're probably listening to the audience more than they are making their own decisions, and they're feeding into the bullshit. And those aren't people I want to follow, man. Like I'll just be real. Like you need to be at peak performance at all times. Not saying you can't be wrong, but like there's a difference between being wrong sometimes and then just absolutely losing it. Like losing your performance. I don't know what your guys' perspective is on that, but like I've seen that a lot actually this cycle.
No, I agree. I mean, look, it's a really difficult game that we play here, and it becomes increasingly more difficult the more, in my opinion, the longer you're around, because these cycles, they're all similar, but they all are different, right? So this guy has been around for, 3 cycles already. This one is not really like the first cycle, and maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, but also in this game that we play, you're only as good as your last call, so, he makes one bad call and suddenly he's ridiculed as like a bad trader and a LARP, and that's also not fair, so it's like, we'll see how things go, right? Like it's too early to say if he's wrong or not. I don't think he's right. But again, nobody knows, me included. Like, it's up to the market, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
no,
totally up to the market.
I agree with that. I think it's just though like to sell at 40K and then continue to double down and double down and double down and double down as it continues to blast in your face to 75K, and then you're still doubling down.
Eventually, you have to know when to throw the towel in. That's the thing that you can hold people accountable for. I don't think it's right to hold people accountable for like a hot take or being even wrong on that hot take, right? But eventually, if you don't, you don't kind of just like eventually you have to understand when to pivot, right? You can't just be wrong for like a year and be like, nope, like I'm still right. You can't plan B it, where you're just like, my model is still valid. It's eventually you have to just sort of like go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, that's more or less what I'm saying. It's like I've seen a lot of these, like even look, and Capo at this point is kind of a meme, but the guy just never stopped. Like he just the whole cycle. It's up and then hammer, up and then hammer, up and then hammer. It's like, bro,
Yeah.
what are you doing? You're destroying your own credibility. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Like just step away from the chart if it comes to that.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. I don't know. It's tough though. Like again, it's tough to, like have a following and be like, oh yeah, I was wrong, It's, and then people are ruthless online, so I don't know. We'll see. Like I don't look too deeply into what a lot of these guys say, right? Like they've had some good calls, they've had some bad calls, but the truth of the matter is too, you don't even know who these guys are, like these anonymous internet guys. You don't know who they are. Like just because somebody has a big following, like it shouldn't be like an endorsement or like additional credibility, because a lot of building a following, the internet has a way of rewarding people with big followings just because they're able to draw in a crowd and an engagement. You're rewarded for the exact opposite of what you should. So you have to be a little bit careful, right? Like I wouldn't look at this and say, oh, these guys have been around for a while and oh, they have big followings and like they're gods, they know everything, because they don't. They don't. There's a lot of reasons why people gain followings. So I don't know. We'll see. I just see a lot of people like fading the strongest names in the space. And I'm like, there's other shit that is way easier to fade. Like, why would you want to fade Pepe, which has been the strongest coin in the whole market? Or why would you even want to try to play that game of fading, trying to top call or fade Pepe when you could just dunk on one of these VC scams that nobody has any allegiance to and has been perpetually underperforming? It just
Bro,
kind of seems
that
like
is
trying to
such a good
short
point.
BNB. It's like, I don't get why you're trying to even play that game. It's risky in a lot of fronts, reputationally and financially.
That's the part that gets me too. I mean, it's like maybe he's a fantastic trader, right? So let's say hypothetically he's right and it's the cycle top. But to say that memes are going to rug way harder than like high FDV trash kind of feels a bit like cope to me. At least, when I look at the charts,
That's it,
what high
Tommy.
time frame
For
charts?
sure.
The memes are by far the best looking charts, and they have the biggest underlying spot bids. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. I don't want to dwell on it too much.
I agree with you. But let's
That's where the cope lies. That's where the cope lies. It's not in not being long. It's being long the wrong things, probably.
Well, Franco just had an interesting comment. I don't know if this is true or not. They've been around so long that they are the VCs in the scam. So maybe it is cope. I don't know.
Or
I
they're
don't know.
the
You'll never know
LPs.
for
He's
sure.
worth a lot of money, man. I know he's worth a lot of money. So he doesn't, I mean, he's not ever going to be the type of guy who's going to invest in meme coins anyway. So that's probably part of the decision-making process anyway. I know he can literally he could buy a castle if he wanted to, but he doesn't have any, jump forward in wealth that he needs to try to attain. And that's why most people are buying meme coins.
I agree with that, Tommy. That the problem is like I see a lot of these wealthy guys come into the space and they're looking to create wealth and they're trying to be angel investors and VCs and all this stuff. But guess what? There's no money over there because nobody's buying that shit anymore. They're tired of getting dumped on. And now that they see this, they're calling everything else a scam and saying this market's going to end and blah 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 because of all the scams. And all it's doing is forcing the market higher every single time. Like every time they call for a top, it just goes higher, just like NVIDIA. And then on top of that, like I wanted to point out something that Smash put there. He put cope and then hope as if they're two different things. No, cope is hope. Cope is somebody hoping that they're right, and they're hoping on the timeline, hoping that it happens. That's what cope is. It's hope.
Tucker, what are you working on here, brother?
You want to see
I
some
still
hope
think
here, brother? Yeah.
60K for Bitcoin is a pretty exceptional line in the sand. Realistically speaking, if we lose 60K again, the structure looks pretty fugly. And you know, if that happens, meme coins probably do nuke. But like until that happens, we're at what, like 64, 65K right now. Below 60K, it would look drastically different.
I'm going to show you guys this real quick, and then I'll go back to you, Tucker. So we have some pretty clearly defined levels, right? So to say like, hey, Pepe is going to rug or something like that, in my opinion, is super, super risky. And it's not appropriate to even say here, like you want to wait for some weakness. So here's our fibs. Here's our loose roadmap. Okay. So again, we've got it from right here, range high, range low, clean interactions with mid range, 1.618 here. Look at the interactions with the 1.618. Rejection, rejection, rejection. We finally broke through. If you lose this 1.618, which would be, you know, back down here, you know, we'd have to pull back 20% or something. Not only would you be losing the 1.618, which, you know, needs to hold now as support, but additionally, you'd be losing like this trend. Okay. So if you lose this trend, then I can say, all right, you know what, maybe, just maybe, you're in some sort of range, like, you know, this is your range, okay? And maybe this was a deviation and you'll come back to the range low. Then and only then do I think it makes sense to try to call for some weakness, is if you lose this 1.618, which again needs to hold, and it should, and you lose this local trend, okay? However you want to draw it. So it's like, to call for it right here just kind of seems like playing with fire, where it's like, are you engagement farming? Like it's fucking strong. Like it's the strongest coin in the market, and you're just like, yep, like Armageddon. You know, I don't understand it. You have your levels, and the levels look good right here. If they start to look bad, then you can, you know, then you can pivot a little bit. But this shit looks unbelievable right now. Like this looks so strong. I don't see why anybody in their right mind would want to short this and like get bearish on it here, unless you start to see breaks of structure, which we haven't seen yet, right? We need more time to go.
Yeah, I think like at that point, even you're still looking at that as a consolidation. It's not even a rug. Like I don't understand the terminology of alts are going to rug. I don't get that. That's a consolidation range between a high and a low. So like if you were breaking the low and you're breaking support, then you could say, hey, you're about to get fucking rug because you're gonna go back to the other consolidation range, much lower, right? But if you're in a consolidation range, to say rug is just it's a little extreme. I will say that.
So additionally, Will, with that, this 1.618 is very much so in play. If we look at this like an initial deviation, which it was, this was a clear like deviation, like local bull trap, and we just view this right here as our range high and then range low, and here I'll even throw on a mid range right here. You know, very, very clearly defined range, right? So when I look at this, I go, this is a range breakout. And here, let me even I'll just remove this now. You already know it's there.
You could still form higher lows too.
I look at this and I go, this is a range breakout, right? Like you have the luxury for Pepe of basically longing all the way into this FVG if you were to pull back, right? Like if we were to pull back, you could maybe look to bid this FVG, just maybe. This is the daily time frame. But this looks totally fine. Like I don't see any reason to be bearish this, even if you pulled back here a little bit, because it still looks like a range breakout to me. Like look at your clearly defined mid-range here. Look at the interaction that you have with these levels, right? Like look at all of this right here and tell me that this is somehow bearish. I don't understand what you're talking about. Like I'm looking at the levels too. If you did this and you came up here and you dipped back down and then retested this, that's bearish. Okay. What we're doing right now is overwhelmingly bullish, right? So until that happens, I'm not going to be bearish. It just seems like a stupid call to make, right? So again, flip the chart. Let's remove our bias. Does this look like a bearish chart to you? You know, remove the name, remove everything, just look at the chart. Does this look like a bearish chart to you or a bullish chart to you? I wouldn't look at this and go, oh yeah, time to just like long this thing to the gills. I would only consider longing if the chart looked like this. I would only consider longing this chart if it reclaimed the mid-range. Like if we came up here,
There you go.
textbook deviation, then I would consider longing it. But right here, you're in no man's land.
Max,
Like
that's fucking hilarious. Go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin did that exact pattern
Yeah.
at the bottom. It
Yeah,
did that
let's pull
exact
it up.
pattern at the bottom.
Let's pull it up. Let's do it right here.
It's hilarious you brought this up because it's the exact pattern Bitcoin did.
Exact thing. Exact. We just did at 57K. That we just did.
Is that bearish then?
No, but you
No,
have
it's
to
just an
reclaim.
example
That's
of
what
like
he's saying.
it's an example of when to get bullish, you know? So it's like the reason you get really bullish Bitcoin here is because you saw this,
You saw the
right?
reclaim.
You saw the reclaim. Okay.
So you
Because
can't
you
get
saw the
bearish
reclaim.
until you see the reclaim of the area, is what he's stating. And that's
So
true.
down here, this was, and I was bullish because I had this mapped out, right? And this wasn't price discovery, so it was different. But this right here looked like shit. You get this reclaim, okay, now we're bullish. So why would you want to just blindly short? And again, this is inverted, right? Why would you want to blindly short the strongest coin in the market on a clear range high breakout? The only excuse you have for getting bearish in the future is if this fails here, right? Like if this does not work out, you know, and then, you know, furthermore, you start to get like I would even say like this, like you kind of have a trend, maybe something like this. Okay. Then you could get bearish right here. Grow up, man. That's a risky game. That is a really, really risky game. I'm not interested in playing that game. So, like, look at this. Then you could get bearish. But right here, hell no. You need to wait for that because then you have clear invalidation, right? But right here, man, this shit is so strong. With majors showing strength as well, like we're probably not going down here. Like again, this is just an example. Like I'm not doing this to bear post Pepe. It's the exact opposite. Where I look at this as like, I mean, bro, this is like mega support now. As long as you hold this green line, I don't want to hear anything bearish about meme coins. Like
Real quick, Max. Hugo
Yeah.
keeps saying GameStop was the what about GameStop was the top signal? Because somebody said GameStop and the GameStop ran. That's the top signal. Like we're giving data and technicals, and you're sitting here larping about GameStop being the top signal. Like I don't know I don't even know what this guy what are you on about? Like those two things don't even add up. Give data. Don't say because something was said is a top signal.
So I'll actually we'll talk about GameStop then. So
What you're talking about, Max, though, is a failed shoulder. You need that failed shoulder. That's just a fact from a technical setup. And until that happens, you can't be bearish.
So I'm gonna show an example here. We're gonna look at Doge.
We talked about the float too, remember, Max? I don't know if you were there, but like the float is on the high end of the range. That means that you've got a massive amount of people shorting GameStop at the moment. So like you're absolutely wrong. It can get squeezed.
So let's actually look at it, right? So you're saying, and we can talk about this point, right? It is a, you know, it's something we should discuss. We're talking about GameStop, which is up here in red, and then I have Doge down here below. Okay. So I'll label this just so people don't forget. Doge. Okay. And then GameStop is up top in red. I'll just relabel this GME. Okay. So let's look at what happened last time GameStop put in a blow off top. Okay. So the last time that GameStop put in a blow off top, Doge was right in here. All right. So the last time, we're just looking at the data, right? The last time the GameStop put in a blow off top, Doge was in this region. Oops. I'll draw some and again, this is the weekly, so it's not like perfectly measured. Okay. But I'll draw some brackets here. All right. So the last time the GameStop went crazy and put in this move where it went from, looks like it went from $2 all the way to 275. Is that correct? Oh wait, no, that's the wrong axis. There we go. It went from $4 to $120. Okay, right in this region. What happened to Doge afterwards? Okay, so Doge from this box basically spent the next 4 months going up over 2,000%, or actually it was more. It was like 7,000. It's measuring the wrong axis. It was 7,000%. Doge went from sub 10 cents, all the way to 70 cents. Wait, what am I? Oh no, sorry. 0.008. Okay, 0.008. So less than a penny, all the way up to 75 cents. So it's like 7,000%. All right. So when GameStop put in a blow off top and then it ended up nuking, right? GameStop went down 90%. Doge went up 7,000%. So I'm just saying, even if you are correct and GameStop is somehow marking the top, if we were to repeat what we did last cycle, then Doge would go up significantly while GameStop pulls back. So just pointing out that the real big moves for crypto and crypto risk actually occurred right after GameStop put in its blow off top, not during, not before. It actually happened over the next 3 or 4 months, if we're just going off of the facts.
Boom. Roasted.
Politely roasted.
Politely
dipped
roasted.
into a deep fryer. Politely.
Yeah.
Lightly breaded and then caressed into the deep fryer in a polite manner. Enjoy your deep fried meal.
So let's talk about the float a little bit, and I think Hyperlight hit the nail on the head. GME is shorted 5x its float, which is shorts are way the fuck offside right now. Like, it's 5x what available public stock is available, right? That means what's floating around. So I think a lot of people don't understand that. Whenever you end up in a scenario where a stock is in this position and it's low liquidity, it's easy to squeeze those positions and cause them to expire and or end up at a loss, a massive loss. And a lot of these hedgies still haven't closed their short positions from 2021. Like, they still got them open. And so, like, GME 100% can get squeezed. 100% can get squeezed. I think just so many people are like think that these things are signals for some odd fucking reason. Somebody in their basement told them that, whoever's living there, and they're just sitting there like LARPing about, oh, because GME came back, it's a top. No, it's not. The GME is 100% offsides, right? It's 100% offsides. The squeeze has already commenced. Why do you think that they're pausing buys? Because there's no available stock. What do you do when you don't have any of the asset to give to people? You have to pause your platform from buying. They don't have any stock. If they had stock, they wouldn't be pausing. That's why they're pausing. That's why you're seeing Cash App pause. That's why you're seeing Robinhood pause, and you'll probably see TD Ameritrade jump on board with that. So if that's the case, I think people are completely wrong. This is 100% a play.
I agree. Do you think they're going to actually let them play though, Will, or they're going to do the same crap they did last time?
They don't have a choice. Because if the bids continue to stay on the books, every time they reopen to sell some, it's going to go right into those hands. And every time that they reopen this, every time they get more GME stock to sell clients, it's just going to keep closing and opening. And this is going to force this thing up higher and higher and higher and higher by astronomical numbers. As long as the bid continues to come in, and they can 100% squeeze these short positions. Yeah, they're naked shorts too. Exactly. Like, these people are going to get fucking destroyed.
So it would be fun to see GameStop continue to rip, no question about it. I don't think it needs to for crypto though, just to be clear, guys. Like, I don't think we need GameStop to like rip or anything like that.
No, but it's not a top signal for crypto. That's what I'm trying to tell this guy. Like, he's sitting there saying it's a top signal for halts. I'm like, you're high.
You're high.
So when I look at this, right, you can't be bearish at this point. You can't be bearish Pepe or memes if you're bullish Bitcoin. That's a contradiction. Okay. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Like, let's just mark out some key highs and lows here. Okay. So Pepe, Bitcoin, right? Another high, another high. Little divergences here and there, right? Like you can see Bitcoin made, a higher high, Pepe made a lower one. Doesn't really matter. Point being is the structures are similar. They're all intertwined and connected. Here's the low, Pepe nuked really hard, right? But then more reflexive, bounces back. Okay, another low on the same day, another low on the same day. Bitcoin moves up, lows formed again. It's literally, it's the same thing. So you could maybe make a case that like Pepe is leading the market or something, and you're going to be bearish everything. But you can't be like, oh, I'm super bullish Bitcoin, send it to 90K. Oh, and memes are over. It's toasted. Goodbye. There's not evidence to support that yet. There's not evidence to support that. You're just waffling. You're genuinely waffling because of this interconnected web between majors and beta that, we're just looking at it right here. They form highs on the same day. They form lows on the same day. Then you get little pockets of outperformance and underperformance. So if you're overwhelmingly bullish Bitcoin, you can't doom post beta. It doesn't make sense here. It doesn't. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, we've been going for about an hour, 25 minutes. I think we'll call it here. I'm going to kick it over to Snorlax to say a final farewell.
All right, guys. Yeah, great stuff. We went for about an hour and a half. If you guys enjoyed the stream, make sure to hit the like button on the way out. It always means a lot to us when you guys do that. It's been a while since I've done an outro. I almost kind of forgot how I used to do these, but yeah, just a few housekeeping measures, of course, as always. Reminder that Market Check is live every single day. Typical start time around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We run for about an hour to an hour and a half every single weekday. Not weekends, just weekdays. But we cover a wide variety of topics, right? We talk about equities, Apple, AI even. And we also talk about a lot of meme coins. But I think the biggest thing, if you could take away, after the meme coin conversation is make sure you don't borrow your conviction, guys, because it's very difficult to outperform and thrive in the crypto market if you are borrowing other people's convictions. At the end of the day, you have to have your own ideas for taking your trades. It is your capital, by the way, or after all, right? So you're always going to be wanting to make decisions based around the fact that it is your money rather than somebody else's ideas or somebody else's conviction. But we had a super chat, I guess, from somebody who's wanting me to take a look at it. Thoughts on, I guess we can, do we want to touch on this now or do we want to touch on it next
What
show?
is
It
it?
wants that base meme token commentary. I will say regarding base meme tokens kind of broadly, because I think there are a lot of individual tickers you could probably pick that are lower market cap than we would like to shill on this site. I think if you believe in Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin or Ethereum pumping, you're likely to see base meme coins come back with a vengeance, right? Because that's something that we've seen multiple times already in the past. ETH outperforms, any ETH outperformance at all shifts the rotation on chain away from Solana and onto base meme coins. But as far as individual tickers, I'm bullish on a certain cat coin on base. I don't want to shill it because it's only 30 million market cap. I do talk about it a lot in the Discord, but I am bullish on that meme coin, that cat meme coin. Other than that, though, I know Will has some great plays that he gives on our micro cap channel for base coins specifically. And we got a whole group of guys in our Discord that are grinding in that micro cap channel right now and seemingly finding all the gems of the market. So I would recommend that if you're looking for more individualistic bets. But otherwise, I think betting on base chain is essentially betting on, Ethereum outperformance, whether that's short or long term. But yeah, guys, also want to mention our flagship show, Market Talk, which is a Twitter space hosted by the legendary King Wabi. He does an exceptional job on those shows. And as I always say, they can cover a variety of topics very similar to Market Check, right? We're a bit more technical, a bit more trade heavy here. But on Market Talk, we can talk about macro, can talk about meme coins. Just depends on, who's being hosted on or who is speaking on the show. So they can all take a very different flavor and a different variety. But yeah, that's it from us, guys. We hope you had a fantastic start to your Wednesday morning. I am so happy to be back and cooking with the boys. But yeah, we'll see what the rest of the week brings us. But yeah, you'll have a great rest of your day. And thanks again